rocking the boat.
Court is in session with Ryan in Sacktown on If You Don't Like That. Now, Ryan in Sacktown.
Oh, must be Rhino. And court is in session on a Tuesday. Welcome, or Tuesday. Look, Bane, you just got your mistake, Bane, right off the top. Go ahead. Hit me in the chat, Bane. Welcome in on a Thursday, day 3 of Kings training camp. We've got full coverage of what's going down at the G1C. Would love to have you in here. What's the big headline for everyone coming out of training camp? What are you looking at? I know a lot of people are looking at the 2-guard position. Got a lot of thoughts on that. Got some audio from Mike Brown. We've got Keegan. We got news on Keegan, too. By the way, the Kings picked up his 4th-year option as first reported by Sean Cunningham. Good job by him. No surprise there that the Kings are picking up the option. We've got the new Sac State renderings. Have you had a chance to check those out? We'll go over those as well. It's only a 60-minute show today. So if you want to get in, now is the time. The QR code is in the chat. There you go, Adam. I got you, brother. QR code is in the chat also, or the link is in the chat. QR code above my shoulder. Get you on the show. What's up, Burn Dog? Uh-oh. Bernie's here. Damn. Watch out for Burn Dog. He will take over the chat. Thanks for showing up, Burn Dog Adam. Love to hear from everybody. We're brought to you by Bennett's West Side Grill in Rockland. You know the deal. Get to Bennett'sRestaurants.com. You can make reservations, check out all their specials, and much more. Happy hour tonight, 2 to 6 sips and taste. Can't go wrong there. 60 different wines by the glass. Yes. Now, I'm not saying you should try all 60 in one night, but damn good wine selection there. That's Bennett'sRestaurants.com. 4 o'clock. That's the reason we're doing a short show. Grant and I will be back. We'll be getting you ready for Thursday night football. Be talking NFL, also Kings training camp as well. Malik Monk is cracking me up right now. Malik is no doubt the vocal leader of this team. Vocal. Now, there's a difference between leader and vocal leader. But has anybody caught what he has been doing at training camp over the last few days? It has been great. We'll talk about it here in a few minutes. And my boy, Matt, I'm ready for you. Matt, there it is. You even have your own graphic. Matt, if you are out there and you want to call and talk about your bodybuilding, there's your graphic. We are ready for you, man. I know Grant shut you down. The Kings Court's got your back, Matt. Mr. Olympia. Dude, look at how jacked those guys are. That's scary jacked. Like, how do you live your life that jacked? Kind of weird, right? Anyways, we are already getting some calls, all for it. Mr. Moss calling up early. Love talking to Mr. Moss. Let's kick it off with him. Mr. Moss, what's up, dude?
Hey, what's up, Rhino? How you doing, man?
Doing great. How about you?
Not too bad, man. Yeah, those guys are in much better shape than I am. That's crazy.
That's a lifestyle, man.
Wow. Yeah. I'll be quick. You know, for me, coming to the season for the Kings, one thing is, are you in shape? All right. Have you done what you're supposed to do in the off season when nobody's around? Are you running? Are you getting your cardio in? Yeah, guys are going to mess around and kind of BS a little bit, but those who want to be great and add some to their game, you know, they're working on it. They're staying in shape. And so the first 2 or 3 weeks of the season, I'm looking forward to see what players have came into this season and added something to their individual package. You know, we saw Darren add the 3-point shot last year, more consistent. He spent the whole summer with Steph Curry. So that's what I'm looking forward to. I thought Keegan looked more mature, right? He seems just comfortable, right?
Yeah.
Because he's a real relaxed, you know, kid, right? Him and his twin. And then you said Malik Monk. He's funny. Definitely the vocal leader.
Yes.
He talked about holding Mike Brown accountable. Okay, whatever that is, right? Whatever that is. Mike Brown doesn't strike me as a guy who is for that. Not in a bad way, but I think Mike
Yeah.
wants to coach and go home. So not quite sure what Malik meant by that. But
Oh,
he
it's
likes.
great.
I can tell that Malik Monk keeps the atmosphere, cool per se. And then last thing is, how is Demar, adapting, and how are the Kings adapting to him? Because he's just a different player, right? He's done that. He hasn't won anything, but I mean, he's accomplished some good things offensively in this league. And then last question, then I'll go. Sac State's going to the Golden One Arena. I think that's amazing. That's going to make me watch them even more. It puts the spotlight even more here in Sacramento. We're going to see some better talent within the Pac-10, Pac-12. Am I right?
Well, if they get to the Pac-12.
Okay, yeah. I mean, if they get, yeah, good point. If they get, but do you think they're ready for that? I mean, do you think
No.
that they can recruit players
No.
who can compete? I don't either. I don't either. And so, with that being said, then, why do you think they're so eager to do this? If you're Sac State.
Well, I think that you want to advance your program. Any opportunity you have, obviously, it's just usually, this, you've been around sports a long time. It's usually more of a natural progress. You don't usually just jump from where they're at now to the Pac-12. The logical step in between would be the Mountain West. And
Right.
even what they're doing right now, that's more targeted at the Mountain West than it is the Pac-12, even though they're trying to pitch the Pac-12 with it. But I
Right.
guess the wild card in all this is with conferences and realignment, the question becomes, how desperate does the Pac-12 get to have a conference? They need one more football team because Gonzaga picked up basketball. So
Right.
who the hell knows if Sac
I don't
State
know,
maybe
man.
wiggles
Yeah.
in there?
I've had some friends who went there. They played in the Big Sky Conference, and I mean, the competition, Ryan, was just horrible. I mean, guys can play, right? I mean, guys can play,
Yeah,
but there's different levels to that. But hey, man, I want to get in early. I know you only have an hour show today. Court is definitely in session, and so have
indeed.
a good one, man. Have a good one.
Appreciate you.
Yes,
Yeah,
sir.
definitely. We still got to get to that game. We'll
Oh
talk
yeah, yeah, yeah,
offline.
yeah. We'll chat, man. We'll chat.
For sure. All right. That's Mr. Moss. Dude knows his stuff. I love when Mr. Moss calls. Not going to lie. I could talk to him all day. We could do a show together. There's no doubt about that. Yeah, absolutely. Ryan and Mr. Moss, great combo. It is a decent combo. Not going to lie. Maybe I need to talk to Mr. Moss. Maybe we'll do a little something together. He brought up a lot of great points. Let's talk about the Kings first in training camp. So, first off, we already hit on this. Keegan Murray, fourth year picked up. No surprise there. What are we even reporting? But obviously a procedural thing. He will be here. Okay. So I want to get to the Malik Monk thing because this is great. Mr. Moss kind of hinted at it right there. But Malik Monk has been stealing copies of the practice plans. Yes, stealing copies of the practice plans and holding the coaches accountable. Now, I have a video from today, but I can't get it up and loading quick enough. I'll play it or I'll put it on my social where he is in the coach's faces. He's in Coach Brown's face. No, it's supposed to be free throws. And he's arguing with Luke Laux. And he's just, he goes, if they're going to hold us accountable, we're going to hold them accountable, which is great. But to Mr. Moss's bigger point about Malik Monk, he is 100% the yin to the King's serious yang. When things get down, when things get heavy in that locker room, Malik is the one that kind of loosens things up. He keeps it a little bit light. And now that he signed his bigger contract, he feels like that is his role on this team. In fact, Malik talked about it yesterday.
I'll say now, yeah. I wasn't looking at it like that the last 2 years, but especially now, since I came back, got a little bit more money. So yeah, I gotta voice my opinions and stuff now.
And this whole thing with the coaching staff and holding them accountable, it's all fun. There's nothing too bad about it. Coach Brown talked about it day one of training camp. Now, to Mr. Moss's point about guys coming into shape, not everybody was able to get live action over the summer. Malik Monk was one of those that was restricted a little bit because of his knee and some other things that he was healing up. So Coach Brown thought Malik looked a little bit slow day one, but yesterday he thought Malik had an excellent day, to the point where he actually went up to Malik and told him that he was really impressed with what he was doing on both sides of the basketball. Keegan Murray knows he is going to be guarding the best player on the other team's roster every single night, night in, night out. He was asked about his role on the team yesterday. Here's what he had to say.
Just be on the best player on the other team, and then offensively, just be able to be able to be more consistent, hitting open shots. And if I'm in a rhythm, just keep that rhythm, things like that. So just continue my aggression on both ends of the floor.
Big in media day, you mentioned.
The beautiful thing about Keegan is he's up to the challenge. The other great thing about Keegan is how he's playing on the offensive end of the floor does not dictate how he plays defensively. For all intensive purposes, Keegan is the defensive leader of this team. Now, as for DeMar DeRozan, we've had many talks about how are the Kings going to fit in around DeMar? How is DeMar going to mesh with the Kings? And the expectation is DeMar is going to get these guys better looks. DeMar is going to make them a 3-level threat in the half court offensively. One of the big things in training camp right now is pace. So to Mr. Moss's point about guys staying in shape, pace is huge. It's a point of emphasis. Monty McNair has talked about it coming into training camp. They want to get back to the top 5 in pace. Now, I personally am interested to see what that's going to look like, right? Because sometimes when the Kings play fast, it's not always pretty. And Malik was asked, how do you know when it's clicking? How do you know when things are right with the team? He says, well, we're not turning the ball over very much. And that's true pretty much of every team. But I don't know how this is going to work if you're playing at a higher pace with DeMar DeRozan. What's DeMar known for? He's a mid-range assassin. He's an ISO guy. So how can pace fit in around him? Now, I've got some thoughts about how DeMar fits in with the guys, but what about the pace fitting in around DeMar? Malik was asked about that yesterday, like how he feels this is going to turn out for the Kings. What's it going to be like? Here's his answer.
Like I said, man, I already know how it's going to work. We got another person that can make plays besides me, Fox, and Domas. And it's somebody going to be open, especially when us 4 on the court. So I'm looking forward to it.
Do you have expectations for how the firepower, the where you guys might rank offensively?
No, we weren't in the playoffs last year, so no expectations.
Interesting. What do you guys think about that? No expectations. But Malik hit something on the head. You have another playmaker, a legit all-star level playmaker, something the Kings have not had outside of the 3 that Malik just mentioned right there. So what's that do for the Kings? It opens the floor up for them. Not enough people talk about DeMar DeRozan's passing, and that is where guys like your Keegan Murrays, that's where guys like your Kevin Huerters, that is where they're going to thrive. Go look at Kevin's numbers in Atlanta with his spot-up shooting. If you look at Kevin's time in Sacramento, not a lot of spot-up threes. A lot of stuff off the dribble, a lot of things in motion coming off screens, right? Keegan Murray, on the other hand, set the rookie record for 3-pointers in his rookie season, 22-23, right? Well, Keegan, that's his game, man. Let him spot up. Now, anybody that thinks DeMar DeRozan is going to hold back Keegan Murray, you're crazy. It's going to help Keegan elevate his game, and it's going to allow Keegan to focus on his strengths, right? And so I think there's a lot of excitement there, which leads us to the 2-guard position. The 2-guard position is something everybody is talking about right now. The Kings yesterday in camp, very physical. Mike Brown has been very happy with the physicality. Today in training camp, they actually got up and down playing 5s. They had refs there. Obviously, refs are usually there. The question is, are they NBA refs or college level refs? But they were getting up and down, and then certainly free throws. That is a big thing as well for the Kings. Now, the physicality comes also with the whistle. How are the officials going to call games this year? Remember, the Kings thrived in the environment of the second half of the season last year when The refs were letting guys play. The Kings went right into that and embraced it with open arms. Are they going to be getting the same whistles? Who knows? In fact, things yesterday got a little chippy, which is perfectly fine for this time of year. You want it to get a little bit chippy. Nothing wrong with that whatsoever. But Mike Brown talking about how do we play physical without fouling? And that's exactly what training camp is for. Those are the things that they are trying to figure out right now. But I can tell you this, having DeMar on the floor, just like last year, second half of the season, when the Kings net rating almost tripled, when Keon Ellis stepped into the starting lineup at the 2 guard, De'Aaron Fox became a beast defensively. He feasted. That's when his steals went through the roof. And that's because De'Aaron Fox wasn't having to guard the lead guard every single night. You could put Keon on the lead guard. Keon is a much better option if you're playing against an SGA, a Ja Morant, somebody that's going to be getting a ton of ball screens. Keon gets through those, and what that does is allows Fox to hang off a little bit, play that help role, that safety role, that middle field role, or I should say center field role. And that is his natural strength. So a lot of good things to look forward to about how the Kings can mesh with DeMar and DeMar can mesh with the Kings. But the 2 guard position, we're going to talk about that in a second because I think it's really interesting. And it's something I've talked about all offseason. In fact, I was talking about it last season when Keon stepped into the starting lineup. Let's get back to the chat really quick. Want to see what you all are up to. Burn Dog, stirring the pot. I think I tried all 60. Oh, you did. It's SmackDown. You had 60 different wines at SmackDown, Adam? I don't think so, bro. No way. Yes, it's not Ryan. It's Ryan. I don't have that one with me, Bernie. Good job, though. Did you hear Will Blackman say he could dunk like Vinsanity? I did not, but I don't doubt it. I really don't. Those football guys sometimes are freaks. What's up, James? James gets a yeah. How you doing today? Matt Tober? What's Matt Tober, my man? Yeah, must be Rhino. That's right, Bane. I don't even know how all that started. Sometimes things just happen organically. That was a Jim Rome thing. And now it's part of Jungle Tourette's. If Jim laughs, it turns into ho, ho, ho. And there you go. You're off to the races. War having some steaks with Rhino at Bennett's. Let's do it. Let's do it, my man. Let's see. Bane, Mr. Moss. Been a minute. Nice to see you, dude. Keep grilling. What do you mean grilling, Bane? Finchy in the house. What's up, Finch? Good to see you here, my man. Bernie with a basketball take? What?
Yeah, here we go.
Here comes Bernie's take. DeMar didn't do much for the Spurs, but I've seen a presentation that makes a case for him to be the closest thing to MJ since MJ? Did I read that right, Bernie?
Damn.
Did you just say the closest thing to MJ? DeMar DeRozan? Okay. All right. Now we're talking grilling. All right. Bane, you're grilling onions, bell peppers, mushrooms, and kebabs. All right. All right. We're talking food. All good. We can talk food in the Kings Court. No problem with that. Let's get back to the discussion, though, about the Kings, because I am really excited about what this team's doing. So the 2 guard position, I think there's one thing we can all agree on. Malik Monk is not going to be your starting 2 guard, nor should Malik Monk be your starting 2 guard. You're leaving too much offense on the floor. There is not enough shots for everybody if you have Malik Monk on the floor with the 4 that we know are going to be in the starting lineup. So let's turn to the other 2, Kevin Huerter and Keon Ellis. Kevin Huerter's still hurt. In fact, today is the 6th-month anniversary of his surgery. So he's going to be reevaluated this month. He is doing some activities. He is not cleared to go live. So in training camp, he's wearing a red jersey. Coach Brown joked about it a couple days ago that he's got the Brock Purdy jersey on for good reason. But Kevin looks like he's gotten a little bit stronger. I had a chance to see him a couple weeks ago. Shoulders look like they've broadened out a little bit, which is great. That's to be expected when you have a shoulder injury. You're going to be doing a lot of band work and other things. But the reason I say it's great is, can he play a little 3? Can Kevin Huerter play a little bit of 3? Remember, on the surface, you say, no, I don't think Kevin can play the 3, but then you have to reframe it and look at this team. This is a small team. So with that in mind, yeah, I think Kevin can maybe play a little 3 here and there. Now, the first step is getting back into shape, getting back into that live action, because that's going to take some time. You got to realize what these guys do during the summer, although they're playing 5-on-5s and they're doing open gyms, summer shape is much different than training camp shape. And training camp shape is even more different than in-season shape. So that's what they're trying to progress and work through. And Coach Brown has mentioned a couple of guys that he feels like they have their legs, a couple that maybe don't. He's been actually very impressed with Terry Taylor, who was signed recently, 6'4", 6'5" forward. He's been crashing the boards really well in practice. We've got a bite from Coach Brown that we'll listen to in a second there on Terry Taylor and some of the younger guys. A lot of eyeballs on who's going to be that backup point guard. Grant and I talked about that last night. That role's kind of up for grabs. You got Devin Carter, Kings' number 1 pick this year, that is still out, going to be out, not going to be reevaluated until February. So for my money, Devin Carter's probably going to be a redshirt this year. If you look at it with a clear mind and no bias, I don't see how Devin Carter is going to make an impact on this team this year, because not only is he a rookie, he's a rookie that will have missed over half the season. And you damn sure hope by the time that Devin Carter might be available, that rotation for Mike Brown is dialed in. And another thing that we can't forget, Monty McNair has left this team financially in a spot where they are flexible still. They are still liquid. They don't have any bad contracts. You don't have that Zach LaVine. So don't think for a second that this team is done and finished. There still could be moves that are made before the season. There could be moves during the season. So a lot to consider when we look at those holes. But the good thing is, again, Monty stuck to his guns. And he has stayed within his principles, which have brought this team fairly far. Now, you can argue, yes, he let Bogey walk away. That was a rough one. Not going to lie. Bad move by Monty. But other than that, he's done a lot of good. I've been critical of what the Kings have done over the last 2 trade deadlines, because you've seen 2 teams that were behind the Sacramento Kings in the rankings at the deadline that ended up both in the NB or in the Western Conference Finals, because they made little moves here and there that, yeah, you had to give up a first-round draft pick for one of them. Yeah, you had to make an exception here. But guess what? They weren't huge moves. They were fringe moves. It put Dallas over the top last year. The year before, it put the Lakers over the top. And the Kings were in a position at that time where those players, those teams were looking at easily could have been acquired by Sacramento, and the Kings really stood pat. They didn't do much at the deadlines. So other than those couple things, not a lot to criticize them about. Drafting has been pretty damn good. So as I was saying, the 2-guard position, getting back to that, who do you think it should be? I see some comments already in here. AB, what's up, my man? You could have a yeah. Keon Ellis is definitely the starting shooting guard. He has to be a great 2-way player. All right, James hopping in. For the Kings to make it in the top 6, in my opinion, Murray and Ellis have to play good defense. James, if Murray and Ellis don't play good defense, this season's over. Those are like 2 of your hang your hat defenders. Like, you hang your hat on what those 2 do defensively. So yes, they have to be great. You guys are still talking about grills and smokers right now. You're getting all this good Kings content, Bane. We're talking grills and smokers. No, I'm just kidding. All good. Do what you do. And by the way, if you want to get in on the conversation, would love to have you. You can hit that link right there. Also, again, we're only doing a 60-minute show today because Grant and I are going to be back 4 o'clock right here on If You Don't Like That. All right. Back to the Kings in training camp and the 2-guard position. This one really has my attention. Keon Ellis, there's been some cool things that have happened. One, De'Aaron Fox really enjoys playing in the backcourt with Keon Ellis, and he's let that be known to the organization. And Keon was asked about that actually yesterday, about how he feels about De'Aaron wanting him to get that starting 2-guard position. Here's what Keon had to say.
Just to obviously know that your star player has faith in you. I mean, that just makes you more comfortable out there. You have guys who can kind of get thrown out there, and it's like, you know, they don't want to make a mistake or whatever. So, you know, if your guys have confidence in you, I think that you should have the utmost confidence in yourself because they believe in you. They're not second guessing when they're passing it to you, or they're not looking you off when you're open or whatever. So, definitely is a good feeling for sure. And I kind of treat it in the reverse way. Like, I want to make sure I'm an elite shooter for the guys who are going to draw the most attention. So that way my guy can't help as much because I'm going to knock it down. So, yeah, I just try to make his job, everyone's job, easier.
Okay, so that's the key point right there. And Keon showed that he could knock down the open 3 last year. I believe he was right around 40%. Not bad at all. So the Kings are figuring this. They figure that teams are going to have to double or hang off somebody when you have DeMar, Foxy, and Domas on the court at the same time. So naturally, whether it's Keon or it's Kevin Huerter, that is the guy that they are going to hang off. It's who it is. Let's not. Who else are you going to hang off of? It's not going to be Keegan Murray. Definitely not going to be Fox. Not going to be Domas. And hell no, it ain't going to be DeMar. So the 2-guard position is where people are going to hang off. Now, when you look at Keon's offensive game and you look at Kevin Huerter's offensive game, you have to give a tip of your cap to Kevin Huerter. Even though Kevin has shot the ball poorly in the last season or so, Kevin is a better offensive player than Keon is at this point. But there is, when you have Kevin Huerter in the game, a little bit of an obligation to get him going. You got to get him some shots, right? Keon Ellis, you don't have to do that. There is no obligation to get Keon involved in the offense. So the question becomes, how do you balance this floor out, and how do you balance Mike Brown's rotation out? And my answer is, it's Keon Ellis in the starting lineup. I've already explained to you what he does defensively, but offensively, Keon, he knows where to be. He's a high IQ basketball player. He gets into the right spots. And again, I go back to this. Yes, probably teams will hang off of him a little bit because he's the weakest offensive player on the floor. But they're going to do that with Kevin Huerter, so it's a moot point. It doesn't matter. They're going to do it with both of them. So to me, it's Keon Ellis's job. And right now, as we sit, Keon Ellis is the one getting the starting reps with the other starters in the black jerseys, which is no surprise because Kevin is obviously injured. Coach Brown has been asked about this. This is what Coach Brown had to say about Kevin in that position yesterday.
One of the things that Kevin brings to the table is his pace, especially in the half court. He comes flying off of DHOs. If he doesn't get it, he knows how to space quickly. He's a threat, so he's never going to be left open, which means there's going to be more space for other guys on the floor. And similar to DeMar, as you get to know Kevin and watch him closely, you see that, hey, he can pass the thing. Now he can't pass the thing. He's got a great medium game, great float game, great pull-up game, and he can finish, and he's bigger than what you think, too. So there's a lot of things that he brings to the table that others don't, just like, I could say the same thing with Keon and or Malik when it comes to that spot.
Okay, so Kevin is more talented offensively. We know that from a playmaking standpoint. But here's my argument against Kevin. Having Kevin in the starting lineup, not only do you lose something defensively, I'm going to go back to the Malik Monk argument. You're leaving too many shots on the floor. You have too much offense, in my opinion, on the floor. Keon can give you what you need around the 4 that are going to have the ball in their hands, the 4 that the offense centers around. However, you throw Kevin into that second unit, there's more shots for him there. There is a bigger opportunity for Kevin to have a larger impact with the second unit. So that's why I think Kevin should actually be the one coming off the bench. Now, conversely, Coach Brown talked about what Keon Ellis brings to the starting lineup. This is what he had to say.
About it, Keon, out of all three of those guys, is probably the one that will command the least amount of shots and or the time the ball's in his hands. And, you know, he's shown, too, the last 2 years that he's a capable catch and shooter. And if you leave him open, he'll make you pay. In the catch and shoot shot from the three-point line, he shot 40-something% from three in both years. So for us, that is a little bit of a factor, you know, making sure that we put the right combinations on the floor that fit, and instead of just, hey, trying to throw guys out there because we think those guys can all score the best.
Bingo. That is the deciding factor to me. So where do you all come out? Who do you think should be in that 2-guard position? Let me know in the chat. You can call also. You've got the link to call. So as we sit in camp right now, I want to read this off so I'm not incorrect. We've already told you the starting 5 that's wearing the black jerseys. In today's scrimmage, when they were getting up and down, running 5-on-5s, these were the guys in blue. Now, Kevin wasn't participating, but Kevin had a blue. And then you had Malik, you had Jalen McDaniels, you had Isaac Jones, interesting name there, and then Colby Jones, and let's see, yep, that is, Alex Len as well. So those are the 2 units getting pretty much predominantly the run when the teams are going 5-on-5 with some substitutions in between. So give me your thoughts. Do the Kings have a true backup for Fox to run the offense? Can DeMar run the offense? Yeah, so great question, Flores. As we sit today, no, they really don't have a true point guard. But also, as we sit today, do the Kings really have a true point guard? That would be my counter question to you. Is De'Aaron Fox a true point guard? He's the closest thing to a true point guard that the Kings have. But remember, De'Aaron played without the ball in his hands a tremendous amount last year. Now, as for the second part about DeMar, yes, absolutely. There's an expectation that DeMar is going to be a focal point, the center point of the offense. In fact, there's a strong argument that DeMar should be the one running the DHO and having Sabonis down low for a couple of different reasons, which we can get into later. So as you sit, Malik and Foxy are the 2 that are going to be the quote unquote point guards on the floor, even though there's arguments that both of them are not true point guards. Now, one thing that I really did like from the scrimmage today, because I got a chance to see about 4 minutes of it, was there was some more pick and roll action, a little bit more pick and roll than we saw last year. So in camp on day 1, they talked about some of the wrinkles that they're throwing in to the offense to cater to DeMar DeRozan. I want to pull that clip up for you. Domas talked about it. Here's Domas.
Just making more room on the offensive end, not having cutters go through, and having more space for anyone who's going to go try and get a bucket, or give more room for the 2-man game with me and him or Fox, you know, so kind of spreading out the court.
So that 2-man game with Fox and Sabonis, I asked the question all last season, do De'Aaron Fox and Domantas Sabonis make each other better? I asked that question to many people around the team. I got mixed answers. Some people didn't give me an answer at all. They couldn't answer it. They had to think about it. There is no question to me that Domantas Sabonis makes De'Aaron Fox better. Period. End of story. But there is a question to me as to whether De'Aaron Fox makes Domas better. And the reason I say that is look at what happens when Malik Monk comes into the game with Domantas Sabonis. What do they do so well? It's the pick and roll. The pick and roll between those 2 is magic. And De'Aaron can do all of the same things that Malik Monk can do. So how can De'Aaron pick up that pick and roll game a little bit more? Not questioning De'Aaron's vision, not questioning his basketball IQ. He is a tremendous player in both of those categories, but how can he find the nuances, the wrinkles within that pick and roll that don't only open up some space on the floor for some others, like Domantas Sabonis said, but also get Sabonis some of those looks inside, because that was this place where the Kings struggled last year, getting to the free throw line. I don't need to throw the stats at you. I throw them at you nearly every day about the percentages free throws were down and made free throws down. But there's a second side to that. It's setting your defense when you get to the free throw line. The Kings, because of their size, are going to have to play smaller this year. They're going to have to play smaller, which means they're going to have to run more zone defense. Now, the Kings did not do bad running the zone defense last year, but one of the goals of the zone defense is you want to mask it. You want to change the lookup, because the reason for that is you want time to come off the shot clock when the teams are adjusting, because most teams, if you've been playing man-to-man and then you transition to zone, it takes them a second to switch out of their man-to-man sets to their zone sets. So make them use 6-7 seconds in the shot clock identifying the zone. Oh, crap. The Kings are in zone. Okay, we got to do this. Oh, there's only 12 left on the shot clock. So change up the looks. Show them how you do that. And so you're going to have some zone looks there from this team. So there's a lot of stuff, a lot of nuances, a lot of wrinkles where this team can get better. And I reinforce the fact that today in the scrimmage, there were some ball screens between Foxy and Sabonis, something we didn't see a ton of last year. So that is very, very, to me, very encouraging. Let's see, Finchy, you're multitasking. Love it. All right. James, the question is, who's the Kings leader out of the players, the voice all the players will listen to? Championship team has one player. Now, okay, this is an interesting question, James, because you have a ton of silent leadership or quiet leadership. Silence is the wrong word. You have a ton of quiet leadership on this team. Here's what I can tell you. In training camp over the last couple days, when they're breaking down and getting ready to break out into groups for their free throw shooting contests, you've had DeMar, who spoke to the team a little bit. You've had Foxy. You've had Malik Monk. You've had Coach Brown obviously break them down. The vocal leader of this team is Malik Monk. Now, if you asked many of the players, they want Keegan to get more vocal. I think Keegan is the leader of the defense because he guards usually the most difficult player on the court, the best player on the court, but also Keegan's always in the right spot. Show me one time on the film last year that Keegan was out of position. It rarely happens. So in fact, De'Aaron Fox took over Harrison Barnes's locker this year, and he requested that Keegan be moved right next to him. So you have Keegan Murray right in between De'Aaron Fox and Malik Monk. You know how Malik and De'Aaron interact, so maybe that brings a little bit out of Keegan Murray in terms of vocalness, but Keegan was asked about it yesterday. He doesn't have any plans to do anything that's outside of himself. And I respect that. I understand that. Malik wants to see him talk a little bit more, but your vocal leader is 100% Malik Monk. He is the vocal leader of this team. Now, silent leadership, DeMar DeRozan, De'Aaron Fox, Domantas Sabonis. Those three, 100% on the floor defense, Keegan Murray, in my opinion. But these things will play out. This is, again, a different team. There's a breath of fresh air in this facility. There's a reason for Kings fans to have their chests pumped out a little bit more this season. It's because now you have credibility. You have DeMar DeRozan on your roster, and there's so many things he can do. Think about all the different players he has played with and against in the NBA. The guy's a little bit of a damn chameleon, to be honest with you. He can pretty much fit in any system, and that's the beauty of him. And he's an excellent player too, unselfish. His passing is what's going to make the difference, just as we saw last year, where Keon Ellis took a little bit off of De'Aaron Fox's plate defensively, and you saw De'Aaron thrive, you're going to see the same thing offensively this year with DeMar taking a little bit in terms of creating off of De'Aaron's plate, off of Domas's plate, off of Malik's plate, which then maximizes what those guys can do. It's going to give them opportunities to be that much more special. And I think that's that silent optimism that you're feeling, that you're seeing coming from the building down at the G1C. Let's see, AB hopping in. It's where DeMar DeRozan comes in. Ellis can play the 1 or the 2. Herter is strictly a 2 or maybe a 3, not a 1. Yes, Herter is not a 1. Now, it's going to be fun to see how this works out. The Kings played a lot of positionless basketball last year. So I'm interested to see where that goes and how they work that with the rotations. Something Mike Brown's trying to figure out right now. Ellis, yeah, the guy we haven't mentioned that really, I think a lot of attention is going to be on him. It's Colby Jones. Can Colby Jones step up and give the Kings some minutes? Can he take that next step? Now, I don't think it's realistic to ask Colby Jones to take a Keon Ellis step forward this year, but Colby's got to do something. He's going to be coming into his 3rd year now. So Colby has got to get it going, in my opinion. Colby's going to be 3rd year, right? Yes, I believe he's 3rd year. Sorry if I'm wrong on that. I'll check that. DeMar is no point guard. AB hopping in. True point guards are dead in the NBA. You have to be a true offensive threat in the ISO to be successful. Monk could run the bench. He's an underrated playmaker. Absolutely. He is an underrated playmaker. Ryan versus Pick Hell in a Cell. LOL. PK? Why am I facing PK? You want me to face you in Hell in a Cell? No. Ryan, forgive me. I'm a heel. All good, dude. I love it. Damn. You know what? In fact, you can have a heel. Yeah. I like it. Yeah, it's a good take, AB. I do like your take. In fact, AB is going to get some more screen time right there. So what do you guys want to talk about? That's your Kings update. Also, don't forget, you've been getting training camp updates via the Kings Court on Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Go check those out. I put those up every single day. And hey, PK, let me ask you this really quick, because we have this argument all the time on this show. Isn't everybody kind of a heel these days outside of Cody Rhodes? Like, everybody's kind of a tweener? Does that make me kind of a heel? Or am I a baby face, PK? Which one is it? Which one? You think I'm a classic baby face? I don't know. We'll see. But anyways, a lot more going on. Let's talk really quick about the Sac State renderings. Have we had a chance to catch the Sac State renderings? So that is what the new Hornet Stadium is proposed to look like. 25,000 seats in the chase to join the Pac-12. It's, I don't want to take anything away from Sac State. I don't want to take anything away from the group that is raising money and leading the charge in trying to get Sac State into the Pac-12. What they've done in this very short period of time is nothing short of amazing, but I just don't know if it's the right move for the program. Are you growing too fast? Business owners out there, if you own a business, what do they always tell you? Don't grow too fast. Here's another rendering of the stadium. I really like what they're trying to do there. It looks very similar to Snapdragon Stadium down in San Diego. But what do you think? Let me ask you in the chat, because this is what it comes down to. Would you start going to Sac State football games? What has been the objection for many of you that live in Sacramento to go to Sac State football games? What has stopped you from going? That, to me, is the big question here. Can you get the turnout? Now, if you make it into the Mountain West, if you make it into the Pac-12, you're going to have a guaranteed 6,000 to 8,000 fans in your stadium every home game that are coming with the road team, because the fans of those programs, they travel and they travel well. But Sacramento, what are they going to do? Not a ton of people go to the games, and I get it. It's a commuter school. That's part of the challenge of Sac State. It's not a UC Davis where it is a college town. It's not a Cal Poly San Luis Obispo or a UCSB. You could make an argument even my beloved San Diego State is not a college town. I get that. So that is kind of hard because that's where the students come out, right? The students live right there. It's all in one spot. You don't have to move around town. I would argue Davis, that's part of the reason they have had success. Yes, James, another thing, top recruits. That's going to be a big jump. We are in the NIL era. NIL era. Remember, one of the bullet points for Sac State was that they needed to raise $50 million for their NIL fund. $50 million. I don't have the numbers in front of me. C-Dog or Corn Dog said last night that they've raised $35 million, which is very impressive if they've done that, but money doesn't always translate to success. You know, I look at the path that Sac State has been on, and by the way, when it comes to basketball, the Kings have already offered up the G1C to both men's and women's basketball at Sac State, should they make a conference jump, which is very commendable. Good job, Vivek. Smart, logical move there. But I look at the Sac State program now, and they've been on this slow burn, in my opinion. They've been getting better over time. And it's been that, and I coin it the natural progression, right? And this would be not a part of a natural progression. These moves to these conferences, they take time, usually. These are strategic plans, y'all. Like, I think about San Diego State. When they made the jump from the WAC to the Mountain West, and think about San Diego State, their success in basketball. Just now are they getting in to the Pac-12, and you've got to have some sustained success over a long period of time. In fact, you could almost make an argument that UC Davis football would be closer to being able to make a jump to the Mountain West than Sac State if you look at the history of their program. Now, in recent years, Davis has not been nearly as good, but the history, the slow burn, the slow build has been there. As for Sac State, they're starting to get a little bit of that Davis success back in 2007, 2000, I think it was 2004, 2005, when Davis beat Stanford. I was at that game. My best friend at the time, Tony Kays, was one of the stud receivers for UC Davis. They were starting to get those matchups, those wins. Now, one thing this definitely does, conference, no conference, Sac State gets a new stadium, you're going to have the opportunity to probably snag a couple of better opponents. Now, it's going to cost them money, or actually it might make them money depending on how you look at it, because Sac State's going to have to start taking some of those games that you see like week 1, Alabama playing Sac State. Those are the games Sac State usually would have already been playing before you start thinking about making a conference jump like this. I go back to my San Diego State Aztecs. They slowly started playing better competition. When I was there, we got to play Texas Tech, Bobby Knight. We traveled all the way to Lubbock, right? And then after I left, they got to go to Kansas. They got to play at Duke, right? And you build. Sac State really hasn't had a ton of those games, but there should be financial opportunity for them to get those. And if you're lucky enough, you can get maybe 2 aways in 1 home, which means you would get a damn good team coming here to Sacramento. So there is a lot up in the air with this. And the other big thing that I asked, and I brought it up to Grant last night, you know, is this rushed a little bit in the sense that you have the Sac Republic looking to make the jump possibly to MLS? is there an opportunity for there to be a joint stadium that houses both Sac State and an MLS soccer team? You know, because realistically, how many stadiums are we going to have pop up in Sacramento? We already got our Golden One Center, right? We're getting the zoo out in Elk Grove, which is coming fairly soon in the next couple of years. Now you're going to get this stadium. You obviously have you had Hughes Stadium that's been there forever at Sac City. You've got the stadium that the Republic play in now, if you want to call it a stadium, at Cal Expo. So look, you can only have so many stadiums in a city. So is there an opportunity missed there? Is there an opportunity for partnership there? Those are all the questions that I'm asking. And maybe they've been vetted already. Maybe that's been talked about and it doesn't work. But what's best, not just for Sac State, but it's Sacramento as a whole, because Sac State said they want to do concerts at this place. They want to do all these different things. It's going to be a place to come together. Well, let me tell you, in the summertime, when that stadium's not being used for football, it's going to be pretty damn hot. And I know Sac State said they're going to do their commencements there for spring, which I think is great. It's going to be hot. Do you think you're going to be able to go do concerts out at that stadium in 110-degree heat? It's going to be hard. It's going to be really hard. So all these things are the considerations that I'm sure they're putting into it. But regardless, you cannot do anything but tip your hat to Sac State and what they have put together this quickly and how they've responded to the challenge. And good luck to them. They know what's best. I'm just a guy sitting behind a microphone. They are the ones that are right in the trenches. So good luck to them in their pursuit of whatever conference they would like to go into. James or John hopping in. Yeah. OKC. They're going to be good. They are going to be good. James hopping in. To get the fans in Sacktown's attention, you need to get a bowl game. Yeah, James, like we need another bowl game and build on it. But we all know it comes down to recruits. Yes, that is a huge part of it. Now, what would a bowl game in Sacramento be called? Farm to Fork Bowl? Would that be it? What would the bowl game be called here? A bowl game in Sacramento. Bowl games are so sad now. Did you see how bowl games are glorified spring games unless you are playing in the college football playoff? You have so many guys that end up entering the NIL portal or the transfer portal. You have so many guys that sit out because of NFL draft, right? So I don't know if we don't need another bowl game. The Irrelevance Bowl. There you go. Yeah. Alberto, where is the money coming from? It's a good question, Alberto. I do not specifically know. I'm sure it's a combination of alumni and boosters and probably businesses, leaders, stuff of that nature, but I do not know. You'd have to check that out. Ryan, they need to, I don't want to block you. My bad, James. Ryan, they need to play a bowl game, not host a bowl game. 100%. Yes. Spot on, James. Spot on. Well, they're not even eligible for bowl games right now, James, because they're in FCS. They got to get to FBS, which is a $5 million change. That's the thing, okay? I guess that kind of makes my point for me. Not only are you talking about going into the pack, we're acting like Sac State's already in FBS. They're not. They're not. That is a massive change in its own, going from FCS to FBS. So you're going to tell me you're going to go from FCS straight to the Pac-12? That's competition-wise. I mean, you are going to, okay, I guess here's where I'm getting at. If you want attendance to be up and you want this to be the center of football in Sacramento, if you jump from FCS to the Pac-12, you are going to get slaughtered year in and year out, probably for at least the first couple of years at minimum. That's not going to promote attendance. It's not. So it's a great point, James. See, that's what makes it tough. Are people going to sell that stadium out just to be in the stadium? Are they? And I'm not trying to be Mr. Debbie Downer here and all negative, but no, I don't think that's going to happen. That has a ring to it. Yeah, John, if you had naming rights, it'd be the Asparagus Bowl, my man. It's appropriate. Derek, what's up, dude? How's Boogie Ellis looking? Pretty good. Not getting a ton of 5-on-5 opportunities, but he has done some things that Coach Brown has liked. In fact, Coach Brown mentioned him earlier today. Let me play that for you, brother. As our soundbite loads, Coach Brown talked about Terry. He talked about Mason, and then he also talked about Boogie. A couple of the guys talked about Boogie. Just being able to kind of find the right spots, getting into the right spots, because he is a little bit undersized. Here's Coach Brown.
It's a little tough for them because they're still trying to get a feel. Like they're able to script what we're doing offensively and defensively when there's no defense pretty easy because they're pretty smart and they got a good feel for what we're doing. But then when we go live, it's a little tougher because now you got bodies flying around. You do have some people talking. You're getting hit. You're getting bumped off your spot. You think you see a gap, but then it closes. And so now, okay, where's everybody else at? So there's a lot going on when you play 5-on-5 or 3-on-3 or whatever it is. Having said all that, there are some guys that, in my opinion, are doing some nice things. You know, Terry's done a heck of a job crashing. He's done a heck of a job defending. Boogie has done a heck of a job trying to defend and use one of his strengths, which is his speed. You know, and so when you're looking at Mason Jones is another guy that, you know, he shot 50-something% from the three last year, maybe even the year before, you know, but he's starting to understand what his strengths are and how to hide his weaknesses better. But if you're a young guy and you have some size, you know, one of the things you can always do is crash. You can always crash, and that's what Terry is. He's putting pressure on our vets and everybody else because every time that shot goes up on offense on the floor, he is crashing. He's crashing hard. So as a young guy, even if you don't quite have it figured out what we're trying to do offensively and defensively, there are little things that you can do, which always rebound, both ends of the floor, run the floor extremely hard, sit down and guard your guy. You know, those things can be contagious amongst the younger guys. And I would say Terry is probably leading the charge that way. Boogie Ellis is close. Is probably a close second behind him. Mason is doing some nice things out there. So we just have to get the other younger guys to follow suit.
Oops, I muted Bane. Sorry, I caught it. You got to realize, just being in training camp, that helps out a lot, some of those young guys. So doing pretty good. We're going to get ready to wrap up because Grant and I are going to be back here in about an hour. Playing schools like Fresno State and San Diego State will attract fans. Fresno State and San Diego State are solid teams. They might not be these top teams, but they can play. Yes, they can. I got it, y'all. Thank you. We're off mute. We're good. Thank you. I love how you guys pick me up there. Thank you, Derek. Gotcha. Yeah. So yeah, you'll get some fans. That's why I said you'll guaranteed have 6,000 to 8,000 fans for the visiting team that comes in every single week. Dorian, former Sac State player, the stadium renderings look nice. There'll be a honeymoon phase for new, but ultimately people have to go consistently and the team has to win. Money does talk, but the Pac-12 is a crazy jump. And that's the question. And that's the big question. How desperate is the Pac-12? And I don't mean that to put you down, Sac State fan, but think about it. Is it below the Pac-12 to bring somebody like Sac State in from the FCS level? Because they have not won a national championship at that level. They've been in the playoffs. They've done some decent things, but does that hurt the conference? What are the optics there? You got to consider all of these things. Derek, I know coaches got to be positive and talk up their players, but sometimes I wish Mike Brown was more candid. Yeah, absolutely. Hey, we got